Welcome back. This is kind of the capstone of everything I've shared previously. A great adventure trip to try to, quotation marks, I guess, find myself. Just briefly, I came from a family that enjoyed adventure, travel. My dad traveled a lot when he was younger, and I had relatives that did a lot of travel. They had a travel business. So I grew up with that kind of thinking that travel was adventurous and fun. I think it was a driving force in my life. So let me just give you a quick overview. I went to college, got a degree in mechanical engineering, took a job with Schlumberger Well Surveying Corporation right out of college. Found myself being able to select the country I wanted to work in. I wanted to go to Egypt, but there were no openings. So they said, well, you can go to Libya if you want. And I said, I'll take it. Great adventures there in the desert. Did a lot of travel. We were 3 weeks out in the desert and a week off. Did a lot of travel to Europe, to Egypt, and places like that during my contract with Schlumberger. And really enjoyed it. But I thought to myself, 2 years in the desert, I want to get someplace where I don't have sand in my teeth. So I opted to go to a graduate school down in Arizona, a graduate school that specialized in international commerce. Graduated from there and was invited to visit a company in Cincinnati. Flew up to Cincinnati, checked out the company. I really liked the emphasis they had as a manufacturing company for parts, replacement parts for mining and steel mill operations, and took the job. And I stayed with them about 4 years. I was export sales manager for them. It was really a great job. Traveled all over the world, Europe, Japan, South America, North America, and a lot of travel on the side just to visit different places when I had time to do so. Covered a lot of ground. Southeast Asia, China, pretty much most of the countries on the coast of South America, and most of the industrial countries in Western Europe. Great adventure, great food, great people, a lot of fun stuff, but I was never satisfied unless I was living out of my suitcase. It was almost a passion where I would be unhappy if I wasn't on the move. But I just want to share a few things with you that lead up to how I finally discovered what life was really all about and who I really was. 3 things happened to me in the course of my career of 8 years outside of college. One of those things happened in France at a steel plant, Onward, Dunkirk. And I was privileged to speak to several superintendents of that particular mill. And during the course of my talk, I had a thought that went through my mind. I didn't see any writing on the wall. I didn't hear any voices. It was just a thought, and it was alien to who I was. And the thought was, who gives a damn whether these frogs can roll steel? Who cares? Well, I cared. I liked the product line that we had. I liked our company. I liked traveling, and I enjoyed these conversations with our clients. But there was a thought. I couldn't get it out of my mind. The second thing that happened was a 2-week period in Cincinnati. I lived a pretty independent life. I am a very independent sort of person, apparently, and I never, with few exceptions, ever felt lonely. I lived in the Sahara 2 years pretty much by myself. I didn't feel lonely for a second out there. But 2 weeks of real, unbelievable darkness. It was loneliness. I didn't have any real close friends, and anyway, it was awful. I couldn't navigate it. I was really kind of out of commission for 2 weeks. Just pure loneliness. Unexplainable. The third thing that happened was on a sales trip down to South America, went down the West Coast, back up the East Coast, spent a lot of money on myself, my own pleasure. It turned out it was company money. And when I got back from that trip, I remember turning my expense account in, and I lied about it. I wrote down dinners with various people using names and titles. They didn't exist. Treasurer never questioned anything I ever turned in. I turned in my expense account. He signed off on it immediately. I went home that night and I thought, you weren't raised this way. You know that was wrong. And I had this unbelievable feeling of guilt that I couldn't shake. I did pay back the money later, but I was devastated that I would have done that. Well, that's weird because I wasn't a particularly nice guy. My values, my ethic was founded by past experience in our family, but I did kind of what I wanted to do. So anyway, those three things, the guilty feelings, the unbelievable loneliness, and this feeling of who cares. Those three things really impacted me. I'll tell you about that later.